Hello, and welcome to our lab for our ignition systems. Today we'll be talking about the 2018 Hyundai truck Tucson. It's front-wheel drive, it's a 2.0 liter. It's also a 4-cylinder, and today, for this lab, we have pulled the ignition plug. This is a coil-on plug design. It is a mirrored design too. We'll go in more on that later, and I'll show you the diagram, but right now we will be testing the resistance specifications on this ignition coil, and right here we can see the primary ignition coil. That specification is 0.56 to 0.68 ohms.
What's this one actually? Oh no, I lied. No, you're right.
Secondary ignition coil is 6 to 8 kilo ohms. Our primary ignition is gonna have battery voltage, and our secondary is going to be way up higher in voltage, probably thousands of volts. That's what we're going to see.
Thousands of ohms.
I'm talking about how it operates. Leave me alone. All right. So right now we're going to test the primary ignition coil resistance. So for that we're going to test these two, and on the wiring diagram I'll show you what that'll do later. But primary ignition coil, we're sitting at 0.7 ohms, which is a little high, but we are a little bit warmer than 68 degrees Fahrenheit, but it's not enough to cause a concern. Next is a secondary ignition coil resistance. We are sitting at 5.9 kilo ohms, which is what we want to see. That is within specifications.
For this portion of the ignition coil lab, we will be probing the spark plugs with this stick. Very technical term there. And watching the scope readout. From this, we can notice the charge point,
The
saturation
of the primary coil. We're getting that amperage in there.
Yup.
It's getting nice and going.
and
you see
then
that
the spike
right
is where
there.
it collapses, and this is the burn, and then it goes back to nothing. And then furthermore, you can see a diagram of our ignition coil. You can see right here it is in fact married due to this connection between the primary and secondary coil. And
The
we also
differences between the married one and the divorced one. The married ones are connected. Divorced ones not connected. They're much happier.
correct. And we also could tell this by our ohm meter on the ignition coil itself.
If they were divorced, we could not test the secondary ignition windings on most cables
Due to the
Or
fact
on
that they
both.
wouldn't be connected. Cool. This is the ignition coil lab for the 1999 Acura TL, featuring our boy Kurt.
And today we'll be talking about this ignition coil in specific. We have one pulled out right over here. How lovely she looks. She's a 3-wire, and she has a
3-wire.
ICM. She got a little computer in there that tell her when to turn on. And when I say turn on, I mean ground itself. So as we can see here, we have
Constant
constant
battery.
voltage. So we have 12 or 14 volts coming in through here. We're gonna come in right through here. You're gonna have power coming through, but it's not going ground till the PCM tells it to, and it's gonna send the ground over through here. And yeah, it's gonna complete that circuit, that ICM right there.
And you can see that they are also, ooh, that was a little too much zoom. It will let me
I
move.
can't see, go back.
They are, in fact, oh, you bitch.
Oh, don't use that word, Dylan.
We'll edit it out.
Oh, no.
They're married. You can see it right on the bottom there, because it won't let me drag it for some reason. Scroll. Yo, there. Hey, da-da-da. Da-da-da.
They're married.
Da-da-da. See it right there. Alright, and then we're gonna use this beautiful ignition coil and try and do readings off of it.
Yes.
Due to the internal computer module in the ignition coil, as well as in the pinout test. It says to exchange the ignition coil from the problem cylinder with another cylinder that we know is working. We can conclude that we would not be able to receive any ohm specification or readouts from the primary or secondary coil because of this internal computer. And our diagnosis, if we were going to diagnose, would be to use a known working ignition coil from the car. This is the third vehicle on our ignition coil lab. This one is on a 2000 Buick LeSabre. Here is our diagram. The diagram does not provide any insight onto the ignition coil itself. We searched through all the different tabs, could not find anything. So this is just represents all the inputs that lead into the module itself. So here it is. It is a waste spark system.
The waste spark operates on the principle that two cylinders are going to operate at opposite times. So we're going to have one of them fire on the exhaust stroke while one is firing on the power stroke. And yeah, so they're companion cylinders. So 1 and 4 are going to fire. Then
This one and that one.
2 and 5 will fire, and then 3 and 6 will fire. They're companion cylinders.
No. This is for the lab video.
This is for the lab video on our 1996.
99.
Oh.
No, that was the scope.
We have to wait forever for it to turn on.
All right.